How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.
What's going on, and welcome into 14 Personnel Fantasy. I am your host, Justin Wright. Catch me over on Twitter at Justin_14P. But today we're talking must-start running backs, week 7. And admittedly, this feels weird making this video because it's every single running back has a must-start this week, it feels like. Most people don't have depth. I have full dynasty rosters with 0 people available on the bench. I am playing the bare bones, the only lineup I can play, right? If you have healthy running backs, you're lucky at this point. So if you're lucky enough to have depth, these are some guys I think that should be in your lineups, and, they shouldn't be sitting on your bench during, what feels like the worst fantasy depth week of all time. So number 1 here, it's James Conner versus the Houston Texans. And are the Texans, they're honestly not the best possible matchup like most would expect. They're middle of the road. They're the 20th most difficult, allowing just under 26 points a game to the running back position. And honestly, when you're looking at James Conner, the reason he's so enticing is he is the runner in this Arizona offense. Chase Edmonds gets all the pass work, basically, picks up, 5 to 8 carries a game. But really, James Conner is the guy in the red zone at the goal line. And if they're going to run the ball, he's the one that carries that workload. And when you're trying to figure out when to play James Conner or when you're not supposed to, I really can't find a better time to play him. Again, he's most likely a top 15 running back if he finds the end zone this week, and that's what I'm expecting. Arizona's going to beat the crap out of Houston. They're going to be running the entire game. Arizona could score 40 this week, and I wouldn't bat an eye. And if they're scoring 40, even 35, I want James Conner in that lineup because, and he has 5 touchdowns in his last 4 games. He is the goal line guy, him and Kyler. So the upside is there. And again, you're going to play him over, D'Ernest Johnson, obviously, Myles Gaskin. I think Damien Harris, you play him over as well, who's also happens to be on this list. Again, he carries top 15 upside. And again, the floor is lower than some other running backs because he doesn't have the receiving work. But still, it's really, really tough to get away from him, where it seems like Arizona should roll and James Conner could see 20-plus touches. All right, number 2 on the list, just mentioned him, Damien Harris versus the Jets. And the Jets are actually the worst or the best possible matchup for a running back. You're looking 32 points a game to the position. And this feels like a repeat of what we saw earlier in the season. Zach Wilson's going to struggle. The Patriots should win this game. And that means Damien Harris is going to see, 15-plus carries, maybe a target or 2 if we're lucky. And, has the potential to score 2 touchdowns. Again, do I think he is a better bet than James Conner? I don't, because I don't know if the Patriots are really capable of, kicking the crap and blowing teams out. So it's tough there because he could, in theory, worst case scenario, get scripted out. I don't see any scenario where Conner gets scripted out. So, but Damien Harris, given the bye week situation and injuries, he slots into your top 20 running backs. But again, he has a very similar floor to James Conner in that if he doesn't find the end zone, you're most likely looking at 8 to 10 points. Again, most people right now, myself included, you got to start Damien Harris because, again, he's a guy that's going to see work. And that's what you're looking for, especially in week 7. All right. Last one on the list here, Darrel Williams. And again, it's not a good matchup. Titans, middle of the road, 13th overall in points allowed, just under 23 points a game. Why this is enticing? Look at what we just saw between Buffalo and Tennessee. Darrel Williams should be involved in the pass game in what's going to be a shootout, or at the very least, a game that goes over 50 points. If that's happening, Darrel Williams should be plenty involved, especially if KC tries to slow it down and even keep the ball out of the Titans' hands. Because, Derrick Henry's going to run for 300 yards and break fantasy again. So Darrel Williams feels like a guy they could utilize on the ground as well as in the pass game and see 20-plus touches. Again, you were never sitting him this week to begin with, just because we saw what he did last week. 2 touchdowns, red zone work, everything you're looking for in a Kansas City running back. everything we wish they would give to Clyde Edwards-Helaire, honestly. So Darrel Williams, if you have him, you start him. And if you're already playing 2 running backs ahead of him, 1, you're lucky. But 2, Darrel Williams probably should be in your flex as well. If I'm ranking all 3 of these guys, and I know we're going to get those questions in the comments, I want Darrel Williams, then James Conner, and then Damien Harris. It's the pass work on a high-powered offense. I want the high-powered offense in James Conner then. And then lastly, go game script and matchup for Damien Harris there between the 3. All right, that's all we got. If you have other start-sit questions, trade questions on running backs, wide receivers, anything really, drop it in the comments below. As always, guys, subscribe to the YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.